Today's episode, I talked to my newer friend, Ariana Christie. She's just such an interesting individual, and you're going to see that through this conversation. She is a social media influencer, a content creator, a realtor, a mom of three, an incredible community ambassador, and so much more. She's going to talk about what it's like having tens of thousands of people watch her every move online, how that feels to put parts of your life out there, how you create boundaries, how you build a life around values, and how you figure out a way to do all the things you love as a person, as a mom, as an entrepreneur. We have a great conversation. You'll hear the word sourdough come up a lot in this podcast because she loves to bake. It's her love language, and she makes the most delicious sourdough bread. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast and pull out some great nuggets of wisdom that Ariana had to share with us. Hi, Ariana.
Hi, Marissa.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. This is very exciting.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited.
You did something awesome this morning on your social media. You gave my new podcast a shout out, and my small little social media account blew up. So thank you. That was
Yay.
very kind of you.
I'm so glad to hear. I'm really, really excited to listen to your podcast and to see other guests you have. So I'm so glad.
Thank you. I have to say, I really love how good you are with supporting other women, other women's initiatives, causes, like leveraging your platform, small businesses, just to give them a shout out. You're very good at that. And so I want to
Aw.
thank you as being the recipient of that generosity. That was very nice of you.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So we've known each other a pretty long time, but I would argue that we weren't necessarily close friends. We were friendlies. We would intersect generally in the community. You and I would, do work with the same types of charities, and we would volunteer at the same types of events, go to the same galas. It's like our lives would intertwine at these community events, but we didn't really know each other. Is that fair? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's so true. I think like I knew who you were. I
Yeah.
actually saw you. I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but I saw you when you won Women of Distinction.
Really? You were there?
Yeah, I
Aw.
was there. Yeah.
Oh my God, that feels like a very long time ago.
It was, and I was like, "Wow, she's doing such amazing things. This is so cool
Aw.
to see another woman in the community, like, really just raising awareness and doing awesome things." And then, like you said, we really connect at different events. I think we
Hmm.
always ran into each other or were by each other, but maybe not, yeah, like friends yet.
Yeah,
But I'm
that's so
thankful for
cool.
our friendship now.
I am too. I mean, there's so many perks of being your friend, i.e., the warm loaves of bread that you hand deliver to my house every once in a while.
Sourdough is my love language.
I know. I don't know how you have time, but I am so impressed and I am so grateful because it's delicious.
Oh, thanks.
So I know you and I have had some great conversations, especially as of late, and we'll tell everybody what we've been up to. But I want to go back to like little Ariana. You and I had a couple conversations about our childhood. We're both the oldest of families of three. We both have two siblings.
Yep.
What were you like growing up? Like, what was little Ariana like?
Well, little Ariana was very outgoing.
Shocking.
I think I was maybe a little bit bossy. And I
Same.
definitely had like an A-type personality at a young age for sure. I liked to know what was happening, when it was happening, and have a say in what was happening, good or bad. And I think I also had like a nurturing quality because for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be with kids, work with kids, and one day have my own kids. That was like from the time I was very, very young.
I love that you said bossy because I swear being called bossy as a child is what set me on this journey that has taken me to launch a podcast all about leadership today to talk about
Yes.
how, we put these labels of bossy on kids, but really they're just adamant little leaders is what they are. So
Totally.
I think it's so funny you said that. And we've talked about this before. I think we share a lot of similar traits and qualities. What
For
did you want to
sure.
be when you grew up? Like, do you remember thinking, oh, I want to do this or be this?
I think I always had a teacher because there were always kids that I could work with. I loved people.
Yes.
Like I said, bossy. Like I liked being in that type of like leadership spot. I wanted to be that teacher. You know, when you're in an older class in school
Yes.
and you can help out with the younger classes, like that was always me volunteering to do that because I just loved being around
I
other
love that.
people.
I love that. And it doesn't surprise me that you're saying any of these things. I mean, some people evolve as they grow up and maybe grow out of certain things. I think I was much more shy back then than I am now. I tell my daughter that all the time. She's very shy and I'm like, "Don't worry, it won't last.
Aw.
You'll find a way to break out of that shell." But
Yeah.
it is kind of funny when you are a pretty good representation of what you used to be as a kid. Do you see yourself in any of your three kids?
Yeah, two of them especially. Oscar is exactly me. He does everything I do. He says everything I do. And he went through like a difficult phase where he wanted something the way that he wanted it, and there was no going outside of that. Not the kind of kid that if you say like, say sorry right now, he won't. He'll take a little while, he'll think about it, and then he'll really talk about it. And it used to bother me so much. Like I don't have any control over my own child. And then my mom said to me, like, this is how you were. And it's actually a good quality because it's going to be like, he'll be an independent, like
Yep.
be driven and be like that when he gets older and as an adult. So I try to embrace that, but I think that that definitely comes from me because she sees a lot of me as a child in him too.
That's so funny. It's always funny when our moms watch us with our kids. And sometimes it's like, well, now you know what it feels like. You get those comments every once in a while, a little bit of taste of your own
Oh, yeah.
medicine. But my
Yeah.
mom told me a story that when I was young, she called my grandmother and I was talking about me, just how stubborn I was, like so set in my way. And my grandmother said, no, 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 she's not stubborn. She's determined.
Oh, I
And
love
I
that.
love that because I think about that sometimes when I have my own kids or I see people having their moments. I'm like, no, no, they're not stubborn. They're just determined.
I love that so
So,
much. See, bossy and stubborn, both words that we have like negative
right.
connotations with, but that can actually lead to great
Absolutely.
traits.
It's just reframing. Everyone raising bossy little determined kids out there, they'll be
Yeah.
fine. Don't
Whenever
worry.
I'm having a hard moment, I remember that. Like, wow, he's going to be like so amazing when he gets older.
Yeah. But for now, this is my torture. Yeah.
Literally.
So fast forward, you are now a mom of three. You are a
Mm.
realtor, a content creator, a social influencer, a community leader, a bread maker. I mean, I could go on and on. Why is it, and this quote, I don't want to say, how do you do it all? Because I mean, men never really get asked that question. And I always hesitate to ask women. I guess the question really is, why is it important for you to do all those things? I mean, doing one of those things or two of those things would be incredible. But why is it important for you to do all the things and be all the things?
Yeah, I love the way that you asked that because you're right. I get all the time, like, how do you do it all? How do you manage it all? Even my family members sometimes say that to me. And my first answer is always, I don't. Like, I have a lot of support and I have a
Exactly.
lot of
Yes.
people around me. And
Yes.
I'm always trying to share that because I think sometimes when you share all of the things that you're doing, it can be difficult as an outsider to think like, oh, should I be doing that? Like, should I be
Right.
organizing my laundry in that way? Should I have my spices labeled pretty? Like, there's all these things in the back of your mind that you think about. And the truth is, like, not everybody is doing it all by themselves. There definitely is support in order to make things happen. The other thing is that each one of those things adds value to me. So I'm reading a book right now about values and value-based decision making and value-based parenting and value-based relationships. And all of those things are something that I value. I really value being a mom. I really value having support, being able to support others and having some type of influence. I really value giving back to the community. And my self-care is baking. Like I know people think that adds more to my plate, but really it just fills my cup. It makes me feel so good. Bringing a fresh loaf to a neighbor is like, if I could pick one thing to do in a day, that's what I want to do. That brings me joy. That makes me happy. And so that's kind of like my self-care. There was a viral like video going around on social media, and it was this audio, and it was like, what goes on in my head when I'm not doing blank. So like when I'm not baking sourdough, it's like
Right.
a million things. It's so loud, all this chitter chatter. And then when I'm like just baking my loaf and doing my stretch and folds, it's like silence. It's just like my thing to relax. I love it.
I cannot relate to you at all as you're saying this. But I do know that my self-care is eating your baked goods. So I I think that we've found a happy medium. And I really love that you are having, and you're very honest about this when you're out on social talking about the community that you've built, the village that you surround yourself with to support you. Because I always tell people there's no trophy for going it alone, right? If you raise your kids all by yourself and don't ask for any help, there's no trophy at the end of it. You know, if you go open a business or do something big, all by yourself, there's really no trophy. No one's going to say, here's a trophy because you did it all by yourself. In fact, it's way more fun and there's way more joy that comes from doing it with other people. And I would go so far as to say that all those people that are helping you are really happy to help you. They feel valued, right? They feel important and impactful because you've brought them in to do a very important job in your life. You trust them with something important, being your children or whatever types of responsibilities. And it goes both ways. You are exactly the type of person who would do that for them. And so it's a wonderful
Thanks.
thing when that you are. And it's a wonderful thing when,
Yeah.
you get to lean on people and mutually support people. So yeah, I get the same question too. How do you do it all? And then I kind of cringe and go, wow, does it look like I do it all? And then we need to redefine what is all. Like what is this
Yeah.
all thing that we're striving for? And if I ever give anybody the impression that I'm doing it all by myself, I have failed because I'm not. I'm so fortunate to have friends, family, tons of people in my life who are super supportive, and I'm immensely grateful for that. So I'm glad that you don't hide that, and I love that about you.
Yeah, I always want to be open about it because as someone who was struggling before without having support, it's like, okay, I really needed to put supports in place, both for me and my husband and our kids and our household and our dogs, like really everything to be able to make everything run. And I do not claim to have it all together. I struggle often. There are often times where I'm like, something's got to give. Like I do not have it all together. But having support and help is, I think, the number one thing to make it all work.
I agree. So I want to dive in a little bit more to your content creator role. You and I have talked about this. I'll say, among the many things that I admire about you, and I don't love this word, your authenticity, like who you are on social and who you are in real life is the exact same person.
Thanks.
I think it's amazing. And I also think it's terrifying how much you put yourself out there. That's just so hard for me. Like I'm super protective of my private life. I have separate accounts for, my business, but you don't. You are one account, your business, your brand, everything. I guess I want to start with, how did you become a social influencer, content creator? How did that journey begin? And then I want to get into a little bit about, how you select what content is for you and what content is for everybody else.
Yeah, two really great questions. So first, to get into social media, I think I have to credit Sarah. Shout out Sarah, the Birds Papaya. Sarah's a really good friend of mine who was one of the first people that I knew who got into quote influencing, this thing that nobody really knew about, but that became a career for a lot of people and for a lot of businesses. And like, it's this really powerful tool that I think we knew nothing about. When Instagram first came out, I remember like it was pictures. I remember the first picture I posted on Instagram and I was like, what even is this? Like I was
Here I
being on
am.
MSN. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's wild to think that there was a time before Instagram. And so she really supported me and helped me. And she was the one who had a conversation with me about maybe making a move to make this be something that I did in my everyday life, and that I could create more of a community out of. So she was a huge help, a huge support. And I think because I was in her content at that point in time, I was kind of organically having some people follow me because of our friendship. Then I think when it really when I decided to share more of our life is when I got pregnant with twins. It was a surprise to us that we would have two children to bring into the world at once. And I didn't know anybody else that had experienced that. I had so many questions and not many answers. We also got pregnant during COVID. And so that was like another extra layer of not really having the community how we had envisioned it. Like it just was different. And so when I gave birth to the twins, they were really early. I birthed them at 33 weeks and 5 days. So we had quite a long NICU stay. We were separated at different hospitals, and there just were so many questions that I didn't have answers to, and support that I think my family and friends wanted to give but weren't able to. Whether it be because of COVID restrictions, like nobody met the kids until they were home and a month old. Yeah, even my mom and Mike and I
Crazy.
couldn't be together for 10 of those days because the twins were at separate hospitals. It just was all of this unknown. And selfishly, I was searching for answers. And where do you go when you search for answers for any question? When I want to know how
The
many
internet.
ounces are in a cup, I Google it, helps with
I believe
sourdough.
everything I read on the internet, right? Oh,
Exactly.
it's super.
So I really
Yeah.
I was sitting alone in the NICU thinking, like, are we going to get out of here? Are my kids going to be okay? What is this journey that I'm
Mm,
embarking on going to look like? And I just started searching for twin moms, reaching out to them, asking if they gave birth early, if they had a NICU stay, how long it was, why they were in there, if they could answer any of my questions. And I started searching for community and support online. And then through that and through the support that really got me through that time, I realized like this is a gift that I was given that now I can give to other people. And even just before I kind of realized that, I think I started using Instagram as an outlet to like journal. Like I would just say my
mm,
feelings. I
mm.
was stuck. I had nothing to do. I was bored.
No,
I was
right.
worried. And it was very healing for me to write those words out. I say to people all the time, there's so much power in storytelling and so much connection in storytelling. And it almost is therapeutic to just say the words or write the words out. And then I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I'll just post it. Like, there's really, what's the worst thing that can happen? If one person can tell me it's going to be okay, that's a win for me. And so, yeah, organically through that, I think people either had gone through something similar or were anticipating the possibility of going through something similar if they were pregnant with twins or had a complicated pregnancy or anything like that. And I think the pandemic piece of it
Mm,
resonated with people who maybe weren't pregnant, didn't have kids. Like, I think during that time, everyone, no matter what your situation, was searching for connection in some sense. And so,
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of selfish because it really did help me a lot. Like, I was searching for support in myself, but then outwardly, it created this really incredible community that I'm so thankful for today.
But I have to say, like, I remember that time. Like, I remember following you during that time.
Wow.
Of course, my heart was breaking, and you're watching your life unfold in real time. You know, it gave everyone in your community who followed you the opportunity to reach out in a way, you know, to let you know we were thinking of you because you did care, and you know, to know that you were receiving that because you generally answer all of your DMs. I don't know how you do it,
I'm
and
the
you
best.
generally, you know, it just, again, because you opened yourself up and you allowed yourself to build a community, it served your community as well too. And I, you know, I'm further along the motherhood journey than you. My kids are a little bit older. I didn't have twins. I didn't have kids in NICU. You know, I, knock on wood, very good pregnancy experiences. But like you said, during that moment in COVID, watching you go through what you were going through, I mean, I hugged my kids a little tighter. I kissed them a little bit more. You know, you become super grateful for what you have in that moment when you watch someone going through something like this, right? So
Mhm.
your community is built of people who, from all walks of life, all types of people who just, I think, I don't want to speak for your community, but I think I've admired you being honest about your journey and giving people either the ability to relate or appreciate where you're coming from.
Yeah. And I think there's just so much power in that. Like, motherhood already is lonely, let alone during a pandemic or when you have any type of hospital stay or just something out of the norm. It already
Right.
feels so lonely. So, if you can do anything to kind of lessen that loneliness, I think that's a win.
Yes, agreed. So you're very open. I mean, it seems like you share every aspect of your life and that there's nothing you hold back, although I know there
Sometimes
is.
too much.
Um, but no, let's talk about that. I mean, you've obviously made a decision to put yourself out there. I mean, you are the brand, so you are out there telling your story. Really, people just love hearing from you. They love hearing what you have to say and see what's going on in your life. How do you decide what moments are for you and what moments are for everyone else to see?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to put those boundaries in. I know, like, early in this journey and page building, I guess, I had conversations with my husband to say, like, what are you comfortable with sharing? And there were a lot of things that he was not comfortable with. And so
Mm,
at the beginning, when I kind of started sharing our lives, there was a lot that I didn't post or that I didn't talk about
right.
or that I didn't share. And I think, again, it's almost organic how it all like continued. It became more I was getting such positive feedback. I was building these relationships with people who, felt comfortable to tell me that they had become pregnant or that they were expecting twins. And maybe like people would send me newborn photos of their babies and I had
Oh,
talked to them throughout their pregnancy. Like those were really
okay.
impactful, special moments to me in those relationships of these people that I had never met in person before. And so it helped continue those conversations with Mike about, there is so much worth for myself and for others, I think, in sharing. And there are so many times that I would reflect and think, if only I knew before that this could happen. Like the pelvic pain I experienced in pregnancy or
Yeah.
terrible things that happened postpartum that I didn't know were a thing. Like I sometimes thought if somebody had told me that, maybe I would have been more prepared and maybe I wouldn't have experienced so much anxiety or so many like dark
Right.
thoughts too.
Yes.
Like there's so much I think that can be helpful just in sharing. And so he definitely became more open to me sharing things about our personal life through just us learning about what this community is like.
Did you have anybody close to you that struggled with that? I mean, you don't have to say names, but
Yeah, totally.
were you maybe surprised at some people who were like, it's too
For
much
sure.
or didn't felt uncomfortable with it? Yeah.
Definitely. And we've even like lost friends over it. Like some of
Yeah.
our friends have been like, that's embarrassing. Like nobody wants to see that. And
Right.
and to me, I'm so like offended, especially, the hot topic of breastfeeding. For some people, that
Right.
really
I was
bothers
just
them.
gonna say it's just a nipple, people. Yeah.
Totally. And that's how I feel. And I almost felt like
Yeah.
I was, when you breastfeed twins, it's very difficult to do it modestly. Like you can't
Right.
cover your
We
entire
challenge anybody to try. Yeah.
like it's very, very difficult to do just normally, let alone
Right.
like while trying to cover yourself. And I didn't want to be stuck at home. I'm a person who loves to be outside in the
Yes.
world, doing things and experiencing things with my family. So I didn't want breastfeeding to impact that and to change my life so drastically. And I believed I didn't have to let it. And so
Right.
by breastfeeding in public, it started to worry me. Like I would be like, oh, I can't go because they're going to have to feed at this time. And then I was like, who am I that I think that I can't do these things because of a choice that I'm making for my children? Like that sounds a little bit ridiculous. And then I thought, how many other people make the decision not to go to an event or not to go to a restaurant or not to go for a walk at the park because they're worried that their child might want to feed and they're worried to do that. So I started almost making it my mission to make that a more normal thing. Like if you want to feed your child, I always related it to a granola bar. If my twins want a granola bar and we're at a play center, I'm going to give them the
Right.
granola bar. But why would I not then give them my boob?
Right.
You know?
And honestly, I have I remember a friend distinctly telling me she went to this like early mommy group and she wasn't breastfeeding. Okay. So now we're on the flip side of it. She's not breastfeeding. She's nothing against breastfeeding. It just, she couldn't. And it was a terrible experience. So she's bottle feeding. Well, she got equally shamed for whipping out a bottle as someone would for whipping out a boob. So,
See,
there's
isn't
just
that
no
wild?
winning. Yeah. Yeah.
There
It's
really
terrible.
is no winning. And that's why I think it's so powerful that no matter what way you feed your child, if you share it and if you encourage people and show people, then maybe if your friend had seen someone else at the library the week before bottle feeding, she wouldn't have felt so bad.
Right. Right.
So I think sharing just has so much power. And so I think that outweighs the negativity of someone saying that they don't like it.
And I couldn't agree more because I think, especially you, and I can't speak for all influencers, but I think, your influencer status is very much synonymous with people, I think, admiring what you do. I think people turning to you as a mentor in a certain capacity, as a mom to say, Ariana suggested this on her page and I'd never thought about that before. Maybe I should try that too. Or I'm feeling the same way. Or gosh, I don't know what kind of stroller to buy. And then you have a stroller that you basically did all the research for them and said, here, try this one. I mean, you're like, in my case, I had one of my best friends had a baby 6 months before me. And I used to call her all the time because she was a little bit, and I would say, okay, what are you doing for bottles? What are you doing for this? What are you doing for this? And it's always nice to have someone that we can turn to, that we look up to, that are helping us kind of guide the way. And you've ultimately done that by providing, and not just about mom stuff, but about life stuff, right? And, getting into a bikini. I love when you do that. I mean, you have a gorgeous body, you're a gorgeous woman, you throw a bikini on, and right away, there's thousands of women out there who are seeing you do that and go, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it too. What the heck am I, what am I waiting for? It's like, I love that meme. I think I told you this where it said how to have a bikini body, have a body and put a bikini on it.
Yes,
It's
I
like,
love.
it's just, Sometimes when people watch someone we like or that we think is really amazing doing something, it makes it more accessible to us. It almost gives us permission, not that we need that permission, but we see people do that. So I think you're really good at leading the way and being a mentor. Not that you asked for that, but just by living your life, I think it gives people some insights and people to turn to because their village may not be so vast, right? They may not
Yeah.
know where to turn to for information, but you've been an amazing resource. I do have to
Oh.
ask though, little, Easter egg here for the listeners. I recorded a podcast the other day with John Sleeman. He's the
Hmm.
founder of Sleeman Breweries. And now you want to talk about a storyteller. That man he should be a social influencer and he should have his own podcast because the man could tell stories for days.
I
But we
love it.
talked a little bit about how he built a brand, back in the 80s during a time when there was no social media, right? He
Hmm.
was building, he had a little bit of fame in Canada because he was in the commercials and he was on billboards, but no one knew what he was eating for breakfast because he was posting it every day. Or, no one knew his political views or what celebrity he was hanging out with. Like he said, the celebrity status and the pressure for me to also show up as the brand and the celebrity and the face behind the company is like, I didn't have any of that. And now he's on to round 2 with his sons and they're launching a distillery and new brands. And he goes, it's interesting because we would like to maintain our privacy as a family. We want to
Yeah.
disconnect that. He's like, what's really important for me. He's like, I don't know why people want to know what I had for breakfast. Like, I'm not that interesting. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't even eat breakfast. Um, but he just said, I truly believe you can build a strong company and brand by maintaining your privacy. And I kind of lean towards that a little bit. You're on the other end of the spectrum where you are the brand and you decide to put yourself out there. Do you ever think of what it would be like if you decided to pull back? Do you ever think about that? If you're like, well, I'm just going to not show up this way. How does that work in your world and for you?
Yeah, I do. I think about it in relation to my kids a lot because
Yeah.
there's a big
Oh,
movement
yeah.
online now of not having children involved
Yes.
in social media. And so, yeah, it's something I think about sometimes. I honestly, I think that I don't put a ton of thought behind all the decisions that I make regarding posting. Like in the grand scheme, I do like the overarching high level, yes, but my everyday, what I'm choosing to post is when I remember to have my phone and when something's happening that I think is worth posting. And so it's not always like calculated or thought out. I don't have like planned. I know some people plan what they're going to post every
Yes.
day. I'm I always say I'm like the worst influencer in the world because I don't plan anything. I just go with the
Right.
flow of what life brings. And so I think as if my kids ever were like, I don't want the camera out or like I don't want to be smile for the camera. Like if I have them involved in an ad or in a post or anything like that, if they don't want to be in it, they're not. And I tell brands that beforehand. Like I
Right.
I'm choosing to have this concept with my kids, but if one of them is not willing, like they won't be in it. I can't guarantee that all three are going to be in it because this is my work. It's not their work. And so they get to choose if they want to be involved or not. And maybe their mood is to not be that day and tomorrow it will be. Who knows? But I
Right.
think as they grow up and are able to say and voice their opinion and as my relationship with Mike continues to progress, maybe our like values will change and maybe things will change. But I think that that's what's special about social media is you kind of grow with those people and you watch their family. And some days they share a lot and other days they don't. And I think that like that's kind of special too. See where they're at. So I think it will just be a decision that happens as it happens. And I keep saying the word organic, but that's kind of how it goes. And
Yeah.
that's like what you see is what you get on my
Yeah.
page, like
Yeah.
it's whatever is happening is that's what it is. If I
I
don't
love
clean my
that.
kitchen, sometimes I'll still post a recipe and that's fine. you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just
that's so
yeah.
true. And I feel like you've done a pretty good job with boundaries. I mean, you mentioned your children and your marriage, but even, you have a job, you're a realtor, you have family members, you have friends, you have all these other elements that make you you. And, I think that you've created boundaries and maybe not even consciously, but just because you are very committed to your values in terms of who you are as a person, I think that's probably speaks a lot to how you show up.
Yeah, definitely. I try to like something for Mike and I is we love to have our weekends with our kids. So I try to be more present and not, be posting as much when I'm with them, have my phone away a lot more, really spend time focused on them. I don't do any like paid ads on weekends because that's my time with our family and we really value that and appreciate that. So you're right, there are boundaries that are definitely put in place. And then if any problems arise, I think we're pretty good about like talking about them and making sure that everybody's on the same page as a family, which I think is important too.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who really wants to do what you're doing, right? They feel they have something to say. They feel like they want to create a community and a platform to support people and share their messages. What kind of advice would you give to somebody?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is authenticity. I think trustworthiness comes from being authentic. So if you want to provide people advice and support, they have to trust you and know that when they're coming to you, you're not only saying something because it was paid. You're not only saying something because that's a brand that you worked with, but you're really saying it because you've experienced it, you know it, and you love it. And so if that's something you want to do, share. Like, and I think the consistency, being open, and yeah, just being authentic, being yourself, people are going to love it and people are going to hate it. You're going to get negativity, and that's okay, because in your friendships, like, you're not going to be friends with everyone. And so it's the same thing when it comes to online. I think people aren't as kind online because they have something to hide behind. So obviously that's
Right.
plays into it. But I would say if you have something to say, say it and stay true to who you are. Don't let anybody change you. And I think the number one big thing is like have it come from a place of something that's meaningful to you. I know I keep talking about values, but like this happened for me because I was really wanting to support other people who had been in a situation like myself. And even now, I get people messaging me when they're pregnant with twins, when they're in the NICU, or when they have a friend or a family member who is in the NICU. Like a question I get all the time is, what makes it special for them? Like, what's a gift I can give them or something I can do for them
Oh,
while they're there?
yeah.
And so for me, being able to share that, that's really special to me. So if you have something that you want to say or that has impacted you that you want to share with others, just be authentic and be someone that people can trust.
You, like I said, you are many things. You're also an incredibly community leader. You're very involved in the community. You create initiatives for fundraisers, you create awareness, you use your platform to spread good. Where does that come from? Why are you like this?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think I grew up like that. Like I will give the credit to my family, to my parents, my mom especially. Like I grew up in a church that was, you know, volunteering, giving of your time, like not only your money but also your time, getting dirty, doing the work, was just something
Yes.
that was like always shown to us and modeled to us. And I think that just really became part of who I was. That was always something that was important to me and also intriguing to me. Like I wanted to learn more about, because I think when you're doing things as a kid, you get those specific experiences. But when you experience the power of giving and being involved in the community, you want more, you seek out more. And then as an adult, or as you're growing into an adult and you have more autonomy, you're looking for more ways to do that that really align with you and who you are and what your values are. And so I think, you know, volunteering in my church nursery was like one way to learn volunteerism. And then like my family would cook with our small group at a soup kitchen at Christmas. That was like kind of the next step for me to realize that, you know, there's so many opportunities to do good in the world, and that giving is not only for others, it's also for you. And so I think once I learned that, it really sparked that in me that I wanted to do that more.
Very well said. And I think you and I have talked about, we also love bringing people with us, right? We love introducing other people
Hmm.
to giving. You know, we love taking people to participate in different activities for our community, and we see the impact that it has on other people. We love getting our kids involved. I know you do lots of little things with your kids,
Yes.
and yours are younger than mine, but I'm sure they still get the power of what they're doing. I think they catch on to it. Mine, well, they're so wise, those little kids, that sometimes they use it against me, where if, you know, I buy my daughter an outfit and she doesn't like it, she says, we should donate it to a child who needs clothes, mommy. So she uses it against
Oh
me
my
sometimes.
goodness.
But on the flip side,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's really fun for me to bring people along the journey as well. And you've done that because you've really introduced a lot of the people in your community, your following in your village, to different causes and different ways of giving back, to your point, that don't necessarily take money, that just take a little bit of time and thoughtfulness. So
Mhm.
again, leveraging this platform that you've built to do good is really impressive. And I'm not even sure you set out to do that, but I know that that is a big side effect for sure.
Thanks. Thank you for saying that. That's something, it's one of my core values, something that I really believe in. And like I said, that also is selfish. Like it also is good for me. I think wanting to share that with people is because we've felt the impact of giving on ourselves. And
Yes.
once you have something that you love, like you want to share it with people. It's like sourdough. Once I tried it, I'm like, okay, everybody needs to try it. It's so good. So it's the same thing for the feeling of giving back. You
Now I'm
want
hungry again. Yeah.
we need sandwiches after this.
Yes. Okay. We'll
You
go get
want
sandwiches.
people to really
Yes,
feel
we
that
do.
same feeling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I always go back to this really simple thought or saying or thing that I tell myself. But if everybody in the world just did one thing of kindness or put a smile on one person's face every day, the world would be a better place and we all would be happier.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I think I always try to keep that in mind, whether it's a compliment, whether it's buying the coffee for the person in front of you at the drive-through, or whether it's something big like making a large donation to a cause of your choice or volunteering somewhere in your town. I just think there is impact in all of that, and the
Absolutely.
impact is great in all of those things.
Absolutely. There's always something you can do, big or small. It always matters.
Yeah.
You mentioned this a little earlier. You're a big advocate for self-care. You talk about it sometimes on your platform. Talk to me a little bit about that. Why is self-care so important to you? And what is your favorite form of self-care?
Yeah. So I won't say that self-care was always important to me.
Mm.
I don't think it's something I ever really thought about. And then being completely transparent, I lost myself in motherhood. I didn't know who I was. I didn't look like myself when I looked in the mirror. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't prioritize showering or putting on makeup or putting on clothes that were anything other than my husband's sweatpants and a dirty shirt. And so,
Is that wrong?
not always, not always.
Okay, just checking, just checking.
But I think I really like almost hit rock bottom where I
Yes,
was like, who
right.
am
This
I?
is not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it started impacting every aspect of my life. Like not only me as a mom, but also me like in a career or my relationships or everything was impacted. I just was not in a good place. And I started really realizing like, okay, there's self-care and then there's like necessities. Like going pee and showering
Yes.
are necessary.
Yes.
I have to brush my teeth every day and I don't have to feel bad about that because the mom guilt is real. I think it was all these things kind of together that made me be like, this is not okay. Um, and then I started taking baby steps. I started like going out for a drink with my girlfriends after the kids went to bed. It wasn't taking away time from my kids, but it was giving me life to put jeans on and to put a little bit of lipstick on and to feel good about myself and talk to adults and not just babies all day. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I love my time with my kids. But I think when you're not doing things also for yourself, you don't show up as the best version of yourself. And so I started realizing that by doing things for me that filled my cup up apart from being a mom really helped me to be a better mom and a better wife. And I was doing better in my career and I was having more energy and I felt better. And I think I was a nicer human being.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
So all of that motivated me to really focus on self-care and to realize that, you know, if I'm going through this, surely I can't be the only one. And so I started sharing a little bit about it and realizing, no, other people feel this way too. I think especially as women, really put ourselves last, really make sure that everybody else's needs are fulfilled, our house is clean, there's food on the table, you know, if you have kids that they're dropped off at the right places at the right time and you're spending time with them. And then all of a sudden it's the end of the day and you're like, did I do anything for myself?
Yeah.
And you feel like crap. But I think on the days that you do something for yourself, whether it's a 20-minute walk or putting on makeup or reading a book for a little bit or just sitting in complete silence. Like it can look different for everyone.
Yes.
For me, sometimes it's baking a loaf of sourdough and that is totally fine.
We're
I
gonna
love
name
my
this
sourdough.
episode sourdough.
Yeah, we might have to.
It's
But
happening.
even like going to the gym,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
signing up for a new hobby, like all of these things are so important and really help me to show up as a better person in all aspects of my life.
I love that you said that. It doesn't take away from being a wife or a mom or anything to take care of ourselves too. In fact, the more we take care of ourselves as a person, as a human, the better we can show up. I mean, it's that oxygen analogy, right? Put your own oxygen mask on first. We've all heard it before you put those on the people that you're with on the
Yep.
plane. And it doesn't even have to be
Yep.
these big things. Like, I think you and I have had this conversation. Like, I wash my hair maybe twice, like once a week, maybe twice. Like, hair wash day is a big, exciting day around here. Like, there's an extra skip in my
Yep.
step because I'm feeling pretty good about it. And sometimes people think of these really big, daunting things like the first thing I'm going to do is join a gym. And I'm like, no, 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 don't let that be the first thing you do. Like the first thing you do, find 20 minutes to yourself every day to maybe just sit still. Find 20 minutes or, put on makeup or don't worry about putting on makeup, But I think sometimes the scariest things are probably the things that we should tackle first because they're probably the things that we want most, but we're so terrified to do. But I do
Yep.
think, if we can show up better as ourselves, then we show up better in all the other spaces. And we need to help each other do that. I mean, this is where, I call out to all the allies and supporters and spouses of women going through this and, parents going through it, men too, with their new kids. There's a lot you can do in the way of being a good friend or family member or part of someone's village when people have young kids to help them out. I think it's really important and it means a lot. And even just saying, is there something I can do? Like you may not know, but even just asking is really nice. So I think that's great. So
Totally.
on the topic of self-care, you have a special project coming up as well.
Do. Yes. And I'm so thankful for you, Marissa, for this.
Oh, good. Well, should we tell everyone the story of like what brought us to this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start and you can jump in. How's that?
Okay.
So
Perfect.
we actually met for coffee a few months ago. And really, I would say this is our first time sitting down having coffee together a few months ago. And of course, we're chatting. And out of the blue, I don't know who said it first, but I'm like, I'm going to launch a podcast. And you said, I'm going to launch a podcast too.
I was like, oh my gosh, no way. I literally was here to tell you this too. It was so wild the
It's
way
so
that it
crazy.
happened. I was like,
I
what?
know.
Are we the same person
And I
right now?
think we were like kind of the first people we told. I mean, spouses excluded and whatnot, and maybe ourselves a few
Yep.
times in our own heads to make sure we weren't nuts. But
Yeah.
we were kind of the first person that one of the first people anyways that we told. And it was just so funny because in that moment, we kind of both at the same time said like in unison, let's do this together, right? Which I'm
Hmm.
really proud of. It doesn't shock me knowing you and me, but I think in
Yeah.
that moment, a lot of women who weren't necessarily good friends at the time, didn't know each other that well, right away might have gotten their backs up and said, oh my gosh, like we're both launching podcasts around the same time. This means competition. The claws come out, the backs get up. But
Yep.
instead, we both kind of blurted out, let's do this together. And we have. We've been on this journey
Yep.
together, researching everything we need to know about launching podcasts.
Yeah.
And
So many
yeah,
things.
but it's been fun because as, solopreneurs doing our thing, running our businesses, the opportunity to collaborate with other amazing humans is a highlight. It's a wonderful thing. So I thank you for the opportunity to work with you. It's been really, really fun. But I want to tell me all about this podcast that you're working on.
Yeah. So first, thank you also. I think it's such a special thing and something that's unique and shouldn't be that we there's shirts that always say like women supporting women. But
Hmm.
how often do you really see women coming
Right.
together and supporting each other? This is something that I think is so beautiful and so wonderful. And like you said, someone might normally be like, "Oh no, they're doing it too." But I think it's really special that we can work together, learn together, support each other. Yeah, it's something I'm really proud of and I just love you for. So it's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. So my podcast will be called Your Cup of Joy. My
Love
middle
it.
name's Joy, and
Yes.
it's all
Yes.
about what we kind of just talked about, like why self-care is so important, how it really helps us show up as better versions of ourselves. It helps with our overall happiness. It helps with our mental health, with our relationships, with our work, with our jobs, with the things that we care about. And that self care looks different for everyone. I used to always think when someone said, "Oh, I need to practice self-care," the first thing that came to my mind was a full spa day. And I'm like, I'll never be able to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's not something that I can just book a whole day off and go. And also that's costly. And how often can you do that? So you can only practice self-care every now and again. Like it really was this thing that I didn't understand or conceptualize. And it's just important for me to know. It feels like my mission is to let people know that
Mm.
self-care looks different for everyone. Every person is different. And self care is really just making time to prioritize yourself and to do something that makes you feel happy and that fills your cup up so that you can feel joy.
I love it. I think it's amazing.
So it will be interview style. I'll have awesome guests who, talk about who they are and what they're doing, but also the importance of self care and what that looks like for them. So it'll be something inspiring, hopefully encouraging, and something that just makes people feel uplifted and good.
Yes. Well, I love it. And I know you have a lot of moms and women that follow you, but you also have a lot of men that follow you. And these are the smart guys out there who are listening to your stuff to
Agreed.
take great care of their spouses and their friends and their sisters and their moms and all the women in their lives too. So this is a podcast for everybody because everybody needs self-care, right? We all need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other. It's really important. So I'm really thrilled that you landed on something that's really authentically you, and that you're really proud of what you're putting out. And I can't wait to listen and absorb all of it. And I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks. And thanks for being on this journey with me. I'm excited for you too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I hope everyone out there realizes there's lots of room at the top, right? There's lots of room, to do what you do. There's no one else like you doing exactly the way you do it. So have some fun and find someone maybe to do it with, and it'll be a lot more fun. But today was fun. I don't want to let you go just yet. I want to keep you for a couple more minutes. You're so fun. So I have some fun questions for you.
Yay.
A little bit of a rapid fire, if you will. So let's start with maybe one of the more challenging ones. Finish this sentence.
Okay.
The key to success is
Commitment.
ooh, yeah.
I know that's one word, but that's because sometimes, can I elaborate?
Of course you can.
I know it's rapid fire.
No.
Okay.
Not that rapid. It's
Yeah, okay,
fairly
perfect.
rapid. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, we're in a world of instant gratification. People want success right away. They want something to just, do super well in the immediate right away. But I think commitment and consistency is really what leads to success. You have to really grind it out and really work really hard I'll relate it back to real estate, like the other job that I do.
Your other job. Yeah.
When you start in real estate, they say like prepare to not have a paycheck for 6 months. And to me, that really showed like, okay, I have to work really hard to really make it work and to really create a career out of this. And it's true. And I've found that in everything that I've done thus far is if you commit and have consistency, it will be worth it.
It's so true. A delayed gratification is almost this lost art where people want everything yesterday. I mean, we live in a world where we can get packages delivered to our doorstep immediately. Food, anything we want. So everything's at the touch of a button at our fingertips, on our phones. We can take it everywhere. So I appreciate that. I love that idea of consistency for sure. Okay, so you do this thing every Monday on your Instagram called Mom Truth Mondays. I get the absolute kick out of watching the responses. I also get a kick out of watching your facial expressions as you read the responses. Can you please share with the listeners one of these Mom Truth Mondays that stands out? Like basically the premise is you ask moms to share a truth, like something that maybe some of them should not be sharing out loud, but they do anyways. So tell me one of your best ones. I'm dying to know.
So all of them have been quite funny. Or truthful. There are some people who say things that are just like big truth that just
true.
You're like, wow, that is so true. I would say this is a gross one, but someone told me that they had left their child for a little while, heard it was quiet, walked back, and they had taken their dirty diaper off and it was over the entire room. Had to clean up the whole, I have a visual in my mind that will never go away from Mom Truth Monday, from that one Mom Truth Monday. And I was like, no, I can't even fathom. I can't even imagine. I just would not, I don't know what I would do.
I don't even know. But I mean, it's so funny when it's not your kid.
It is. It's hilarious when it's not your kid.
Yeah, that would be like devastating Sundays or something if that were my life. But
literally, I also have a lot that have sexual connotations, like intimate moments with couples where the child will say something really funny or go to school and say something really funny, and then the parents are absolutely mortified. And I'm like, I can't even imagine.
I have friends who are kindergarten teachers, and they said they could write a book about the stuff that their students
tell them
about their parents.
For sure. It's like Mother's Day just passed, and the funny things that come, I kept seeing people posting, how they have those things that kids fill out?
Yes.
And it'll be like, my mom is this many years old. Like my kids said I was 7 and 14. I'm like, oh, great. And the question was, my mom likes to drink blank, or my mom's favorite drink is blank. And one of my kids wrote coffee and one wrote wine. And I was like, how many had something funny? And I was talking to the teachers after school a couple days after, and they were like, oh yeah, we had a lot of cocktails on that list.
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah. I mean, from the mouth of babes, right? You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about your love of making sourdough and your love of baking. What are some other hobbies you have? What do you like to do for fun in all your spare time?
Yeah. So I love to go to the gym. I love to go for walks, hikes with my husband, which don't happen often, but when they do make me so happy. I played soccer my whole life.
Yes.
So I haven't played since before children, but I am signing up for a co-ed league for this summer. So I'm very excited for that to come back to fruition for me. That was like a big step in my healthcare or self-care, journey. I was like, okay, I need what is my hobby? Like, my hobby is taking care of my kids, and baking sourdough, that does not fly with me. I need something to do that's
Yes.
like, my husband golfs every Thursday for men's night. What do I do? Nothing.
Right.
So yeah, I thought, okay, I'm gonna play soccer again. So
Good for
that's a
you.
big hobby of mine. And I love to travel. And I'm still nursing, so I haven't really been doing many trips, but I think that is in my future, and I can get back to that with my hubby, which I'm excited about.
That's exciting. That'll be so good.
Yeah.
And so maybe my final question for you, I mean, this podcast is very much fueled by my love of all things leadership, right? How I think leaders show up in everyday life. There's no denying you're a leader in our community. You're a leader online in this platform, this community that you've created. What, in your opinion, do you think makes a great leader?
So I think first is communication. I'm finding in all of my relationships, so many things can be resolved with just proper communication. Involvement. I sometimes think that leadership is only thought of as a hierarchy, but really, I think that's kind of like the lowest on the totem pole as we're talking about hierarchies. In terms of leadership, it's more so inspiration, inclusion, creating things that are accessible, and making things that are accessible for people. And so to me, leadership is not really who's in charge, but it's more being inspirational and having impact.
I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself, and we're going to stop there. This was so much fun. Selfishly, I got to spend the last hour with you, which was amazing. And thank you. Thank you for doing this. I look forward to hearing your podcast, Your Cup of Joy, coming soon. And everyone can find you on Instagram. It's at Ariana Joy Christie.
Yep.
Got it. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. And I guess I'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.